This is a proud production of ITM Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of week again. Welcome to another edition of Ramblin About Racing. Whether you're joining us on Belly Up Sports, your regular podcast platform, or you're tuning into YouTube to catch the replay of the show, we thank you for joining us. And like I said, hey, maybe it's your first time. Thank you for joining us. And for our loyal listeners, thank you for joining in every single week. Boy, we had a lot to talk about this week. But before we even get any further, introductions. I am Preston Lood, and across right from here from me, of course, the one, the only, Matt Beamer.
What's going on, Preston? It's great to be here after Martinsville weekend and the Grand Prix of Long Beach, which apparently is a very popular Grand Prix in the world of IndyCar racing.
I learned that this weekend too. I didn't even realize it.
I didn't realize it either until the announcer said this is the second most popular race.
Yeah, the second most popular,
right behind the Indianapolis 500,
yeah.
And it's great to watch that a little bit. I mean, it's an open wheel street course, Preston, and so it wasn't really that impressive to me. But yeah, thanks for joining us, whether you're on YouTube or your regular podcast platform. Really do appreciate it. Got a lot to talk about this weekend. Not so much the races. The races were fine.
The races are okay.
But we do have some topics to talk about.
Of course, yeah.
As far as what happened during the races and other than that. But before we get started, as always, how's it going, Preston?
It's going well. Things are good. Family's good.
Good.
Life is good.
Good.
I'm glad that, still thankful that we're in the middle of racing season. So there's always that.
Yeah. You know? Racing season's a great time of year.
It is. It really is.
About 10 months a year.
We're past the short tracks part of the schedule for right now, of course.
Yeah. For right now.
Now we get ready to, I think we're kind of getting into some big stuff coming up. Of course, Talladega's coming up.
Yeah. Talladega's coming up. And
I can't remember what's that.
The Azerbaijan Grand Prix coming up for Formula 1.
That's right. Next weekend.
Not this weekend.
Yeah. Not this coming weekend.
The following weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's going to start. The F1 schedule starts to get really heavy. There's just like back-to-back races and then like a week in between. But
that's great. I can't wait.
Azerbaijan, Baku, as it's also called. That's one of my favorite. I think that might be one of my favorite tracks.
I do look forward to that.
Behind the Red Bull Ring, probably.
Something always happens there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Always happens there, whether it be, I remember vividly the Sebastian Vettel running into Lewis Hamilton after Hamilton brake checked him, the Red Bulls of Ricardo, and I believe it was Verstappen at the time taking each other out. Verstappen blowing a tire there on the front stretch. That
wasn't last year.
That was a couple years ago.
The year before last.
I think it was his first championship run, but man, a lot. Yeah. If it happens on the Formula 1 circuit, it happens at Azerbaijan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so cool. And somebody always messes up going into the castle.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
It's a very tight turn. But I mean, we got that. I know Darlington's coming up next weekend, next month for throwback weekend.
Yes, and I might be going there. It's iffy.
It's in the air.
Because it's Mother's Day weekend, and it's
tough. It's tough these days.
It would be tough, and if Caroline was going great,
yeah,
but she's not going to just say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to just not be with the kid to go to a NASCAR race."
Yeah.
She's going to say, "I'd rather be with the kid," vice going to a NASCAR race.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get an offer from a buddy of mine from church saying, "I've never been to a NASCAR race. I want to go," and I always enjoy going with people their first time to races.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun, but mainly because. When they try to ask me, well, of course, last time we went to Darlington, go back and listen to, I forget the episode name, but it was where your brother's friends and all.
Austin, yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. Of course, you guys didn't see me. You sat at the bottom. I sat up top taking pictures all race.
Uh-huh.
And then I said, "How was it?" It's like, "Where were you?" The whole time. Go back and listen to that episode. It's a fun episode. Yeah. But yeah. How else is it? Everything else good?
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything's good here too, man. Baby's growing. It feels like just after one day, babies get heavy.
Yes.
It's weird. It's so weird. But yeah, baby's doing fine. Wife's doing fine. Work's good. Everything's good here from my end. We do have something before we get into the show, something we're going to try out here on Ramblin About Mason. This is mainly for our YouTube audience, but it's also could be beneficial for our regular podcast listeners as well. We're going to try to incorporate interviews that we see in the screen behind us. If you're watching YouTube, we got the screen behind us. We're going to try to incorporate interviews that we see. Now, here's the tricky part. The interviews, we pre-watched them. It isn't like they're in the quiet media center. It's post-race and everybody's talking and the loudspeakers are going. So it's going to be tough to hear. We're going to try our best at fixing it in post.
They're what you would call like raw interviews, like after you get out of the car.
Right. And
it's always loud around.
It's going to be interesting, but we're going to give it a go. If it works out, let us know. If you like it, let us know.
Yeah.
If you say, clean it up before you put it on, we'll try to clean it up before we put it on. We've done this before in the past, mainly on the audio side. I've never done it on the video side.
Yeah, correct.
So this is the first time, episode 169, that we're going to be trying this. Bear with us. That's all I'm going to say.
Growing pains.
Yeah, growing pains to say the least. But do you have anything before we get into Hey Man, Preston?
No, let's hit it.
All right, well, let's get into Hey Man then. Folks, before we continue on with the start of Season 5 of Ramblin' About Racing, I wanted to remind everyone out there about our online stores at Teespring and Bonfire, where you can find the latest and greatest Ramblin' About Racing gear, such as T-shirts like the one I have on, hoodies, hats, or anyone but lineup exclusively at Bonfire, and so much more. Pint glasses for your beers and everything like that. Just head over to ramblinaboutracin.com under the stores tab, and there you can find the links to both Teespring and Bonfire. Every purchase will help out Ramblin' About Racing, bring you better content and hopefully more content at tracks around the country later on as we get there. So head on over to ramblinaboutracin.com. Links can also be found in the YouTube video below or on your podcast description on your regular podcast platform below. Again, all proceeds help out Ramblin' About Racing, bring you better content in the future.
Hey, man. Hey, man.
Hey, man, here at Ramblin' About Racing, presented by Devos Outdoor Lighting. Head over to devosoutdoor.com and use discount code Ramblin' for 10% off of your order. Those links can be found on your regular podcast platforms description, YouTube description, or if you head over to ramblinaboutracing.com, links will be there to Devos Outdoor Lighting. Again, Devos Outdoor Ramblin' discount code 10% off. I kind of made that more difficult than I felt like it should have, Preston, but that's okay.
That's all right.
But here we go, Preston. Getting into this weekend at Martinsville. We started off like this every week. Overall, how was the races from Martinsville for the Truck Xfinity Cup, and how was the Long Beach Grand Prix in your opinion?
Well, the Martinsville races, I know I know that. I mean, I'm sure you enjoyed them. You sound like you kind of enjoyed them.
I enjoyed one race more particular than the rest.
Okay, on the NASCAR side of things, I think I would say I probably enjoyed the Cup race a little bit more. But I just think the whole overall weekend just not. It's not what. I wouldn't say it's not what I'm looking for, but it's definitely not what I'm sure a lot of people were looking for in terms of that whole short track package.
Well, the problem is with this, though, when you get a race like that, and NASCAR is still trying to figure out the short track package, I feel you're going to have haters, you're going to have critics. It isn't like it was in the early 2000s with these cars. The cars don't just get loose all the time. You don't just spin out for no reason. These cars are very stuck to the racetrack. They're very driver friendly, I feel, even though people say this is the toughest car they've ever driven. No, this is a very easy car compared to a 2001 Winston Cup car. I feel people want to see, I don't know why, but people want to see these cars spin out all the time in wrecks and wrecks.
I don't want to see them spin out all the time in wreck. I don't know. The racing was good, but there was, I mean, I feel like there could have maybe been some more passes and stuff like that. But I mean, I didn't have like a huge problem with the race.
No, the race
I just
overall
feel
was
like
good.
Maybe there could have been some more passes here and there. I don't know. It just didn't really seem like it was the usual Martinsville. How, they always like to hype it up as like it's a beating and banging short track, a lot of bump and runs and stuff like that. I didn't really see a whole lot of that, which is fine.
Well, I like the Xfinity race better than any other race this past weekend. For some reason, the Xfinity race is one that they did not. I think the big reason was there was no Cup drivers in it. And I think that's what really sent it home for me that, for finally seeing Xfinity race in its purest form, Xfinity drivers racing against Xfinity drivers. And it was a good race.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How would you, if I could put you on the spot, how would you rate between Xfinity Cup and the Truck Series on 1, 2, and 3? What would be your top series right now?
The top series right now, if they didn't have Cup drivers going in there, Xfinity.
Okay. All right.
The trucks would be second with some exceptions, and Cup would be third.
I would put trucks third.
Trucks are fun.
I don't think the Truck Series is really doing all that well this year. There's just a lot of weird stuff happening with that.
Well, there's a lot of weird stuff happening. I feel like in all three series, whether it doesn't matter how you slice that onion, you're going to cry.
I like that.
I just don't feel like the quality isn't there. I don't know what it is, and we keep trying to discover this, but I feel like we're going in circles here, and every time we try to figure it out, we'll go whether it's this far or this far in the circumference or the radius.
Yeah.
I think it's called the radius of the circle. No matter how far the radius is, we always come back to the starting point and go, well, what is it?
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll ever really figure it out.
No.
What it could be.
There was hypothesis on everything, but as far as this weekend, it was good as far as the Xfinity. The Cup race was okay. The truck race, we'll get into that because I feel like there was a missed opportunity there for NASCAR, and we're going to get more into that. But I, just like you did last week, I got a hey man here.
Oh boy.
I got a hey man.
Boy.
And if you're watching YouTube, it'll be right here so you could read along with me. This is from the NASCAR memes, I believe. NASCAR memes.
Is this Facebook?
On Facebook.
Okay.
It's very easy to...
I don't know if I follow that page. I think I used to.
It's very easy to find these guys on Facebook for some reason.
I think
more so than Twitter, I feel. But here's what they said. I believe it's NASCAR memes. I'll double check that again. 16 of the last 18 Martinsville races had 10 plus cautions. Yesterday, there were 3 with 2 of them being stage breaks. And the other one, I think, was a tire.
Oh, yes, the tire that was sitting out there for like a lap.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't say, hey, let's throw a caution. That was dangerous to me.
That's questionable still.
This racing sucks. The comments, though, were great. Just outstanding. One individual named Kevin said, the problem is that they're running Trans Am cars on circle tracks. Debatable. But he's got a point. Renee, I believe that's her name. NASCAR died with Bubba's pool door. Right, Bubba didn't have... This happens all the time. I don't know why Bubba...
I thought you were about to say NASCAR died when Dale died because I was really expecting that answer, but
no, I was expecting. I was looking for that. Don't get me wrong. I was looking for that answer, but for some reason they pulled up to.
I don't know about that comment.
No, I don't either.
Questionable comment.
But then a woman named Tiffany comes to Bubba's defense, and I don't blame her. Still with the Bubba thing, you people really can't move on. Just cry all the time and how he somehow ruined the entire sport for being there. Grow up already.
The sport was questionable before that.
Renee didn't like what Tiffany said.
Yes.
Renee said, Missy, I was never a NASCAR band. I was a NASCAR band before you were born. Sit down, shut up, and listen. Well, okay. Let's. Whoa.
Obviously, this is very heated.
This is heated. I cannot believe that. She said, sit down, shut up, and listen.
I was ready to flip tables.
Out here. Sit down, shut up, and listen. I have watched the woke liberal again. I don't understand why. I have watched
politics.
I have watched the woke liberals try to take over every aspect of our lives, from disrespecting our flag to Bubba crying racism that wasn't there. Get your head out of the sand and fight for your freedom before it's taken. Now you go out there and have a great day. Bubba had nothing to do with the racing this past weekend.
No, not at all.
Bubba didn't go, let's have this car on track and decide this. I don't know why. So, but I don't know who won that one. Let us know using hashtag what you think ITM.
Oh, boy.
Who won that one? Tiffany or Renee
geez.
right there. Well, again, we're gonna not put their last names on there.
Yeah,
because I don't, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna do that. All right. Robert said this. It's not racing anymore as follows a leader. There's a period between follows and a leader. Again, it's right here. You'll see it. I don't know. The only time that there is the last 10. I can't even read this. I got to read it one more time. I'm sorry. The only time there is the last 10 laps. Quote. I don't care what track they go to now. I used to watch every race religiously. No more. NASCAR has gone too commercial. Too many crybabies behind the wheels. No more pushing, shoving, rubbing. Just follow the leader. First of all, his grammar sucks.
I was going to point that out.
I don't know if he was like 10 beers into it at that point, but his grammar sucks.
Be right there.
Jenny says this. We'll do one more. Jenny said this. Boring race. And did anyone else notice that they were that when they were not on a commercial break, they were doing a side-by-side commercial or reading a commercial? Way too many commercials. This is why we record the race and watch it and fast forward. Logical thing. I did that with the IndyCar race. Wow. But that was our true blue. Hey, man, I feel like we're going to try to go back there and make another segment for the race weekend because, hey, man, it's just too good to pass.
It's too good to, yeah.
I really enjoy it. But that was our true blue. Hey, man, here.
There's just so many comments you can
it's
find.
So great.
It can be just about anything.
It was so great. Really I was a NASCAR fan before you were born. Sit down and shut up and listen.
As Mike Joy likes to call them. It was already, the phrase was already coined out there, keyboard warriors, but then Mike Joy has to go on the broadcast and say it too. So just a bunch of keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors there. Okay. So we'll get into the topics now, unless you have anything else to comment about that, because it
was that was good. That was good.
That was good for me. Okay. Big question on everybody's mind here after Martinsville this past weekend. Was the racing in this year, the 2023 spring race, better than the racing in the 2022 spring race?
Honestly, I'm going to kick myself for this one. I don't really remember the spring race that much last year.
All I remember is the guys from Blind Spotting invited me up there. I declined it. I was going to go, but I declined it, and I'm glad I did because it was cold and the racing sucked.
Well,
this year it looked to be nice weather, and the racing was, I think, better.
Well, when it's colder, you got more grip on the track. So, of course, there's not going to be a whole lot of I'll say yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the racing this year. Yeah, I'll just say yeah. I don't know. It's just hard to really judge it these days. It's just not, short tracks in general just aren't really that good. So it's kind of hard to really put it. I'd venture to say that the fall race last year was better than this race. And I'm not even including Ross Chastain's wall ride or anything like that. I'm just talking in general.
Yeah. Well, does it help the fact that it's in the playoffs, or in that it is a cutoff race?
Maybe so. Maybe.
Because this race is just really just a qualifier race to get into the playoffs. If you think about it, every race up till Daytona is a qualifier race to get into the playoffs.
I don't like it when you say it like that.
But is that not the way it is?
It is. That is the way it is. But when you say it, when you keep telling it to me like that, I don't like that.
That was the first time I've ever brought it up on this show in between us. That's the first time.
When I have to think about it like that, I don't like it like that.
But that's the way it is.
That is the way it is. I don't know. I won't go into it or anything. I just feel like it's kind of like a double-edged sword with NASCAR and the way they set that up. It's every race up to this point is a race to get into the playoffs. But
that is what it is. Every race up till Daytona is a race to get into to qualify for the playoffs and therefore qualify for racing for a championship.
Yeah.
As sad as that is.
I know.
All right. So better, about the same for you.
Yeah. I'll say about the same.
Okay. To me, it was a little better. I mean, there were those cars who got out front and stayed out front. Prix led a lot of the first part of the race.
I mean, there was only so many leaders to begin with, I think.
Yeah, Prix led a lot of the laps. Our winner, Kyle Larson, led a lot of the laps.
Joey Logano
led some laps coming back from the back of the field all the way up. Chastain led some laps.
Briscoe, I think, led some laps too.
I mean, RCR did a great job.
RCR, you mean Stewart Haas?
Stewart Haas.
Yeah, RCR definitely did.
I don't know why I said RCR there, but Stewart Haas did do a good job this whole weekend compared
they
to
did.
Now, are they on the upslide? I don't think so. We'll talk about that later. But overall, I think the racing was better than it was last year. However, still complaints from fans.
I think there'll always be complaints from fans. Let's be real.
Okay, touche. Still complaints from drivers. One in particular we want to show you here is Denny Hamlin post-race. Again, the quality might not be all the way there, but we'll go ahead and listen to Denny Hamlin post-race at Martinsville talking about the package and how it might have changed and how it didn't, but we'll give it a listen. And before we get started here, this is from the front stretch. They online little thing here. They have good content there. Go follow them. But this is from their interview post-race with Denny Hamlin at Martinsville from the front stretch.
Fun race for you, just weird to lose it at the end there. Just, we had the lead and the caution came out and we had 9-lap tires and we pitted there and put us back towards the end of the lead lap cars and just can't pass.
Danny, this package, this race looked like a lot like last year.
It was worse. It's just, you can't pass. I mean, 30, 40 lap tires, and you can just stay up front. Hard when I was lapping, I'm still in front and just can't pass them. That's an aerodynamic problem we have to figure out.
All right, so before we go on from there, aerodynamic package, the problem that he said we got to figure out here. To me, if you're on a short track like Martinsville, aerodynamics really doesn't play a big part in it.
No.
More so as mechanical grip from the tires, vice aerodynamic grip from the downforce, that air that's being pushed on the car, whether it's the front or the rear. And again, if the quality is bad, I'm sorry about that, but it's important to hear it from the driver's mouth, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So what he said there, it's all about the aerodynamics. I don't know if he knows what he's talking about or he's just spitting out jargon to spit out jargon right there.
I think he's just got a lot on his mind.
Yeah, I mean, he just got done with a 400-lap race at Martinsville, which is stressful enough, but he just aerodynamics. I don't know if it's an aerodynamics.
Aerodynamics could maybe possibly could be a thing, but
small part at Martinsville.
He also brought up a good point about not being able to pass people.
No, he did.
It was something that was very noticeable about how some guys would stay up, like so for example, Todd Gilliland.
Okay,
stayed out on I think it was under a caution. It was him and a few other guys that stayed out, and the rest of the field took tires. And Todd Gilliland stayed in the top 5 for quite some time, top 10 for quite some time, until I think he had a pit road issue. I think it was a penalty of some sort or whatever. But I mean, he was up there for a while, and we saw with like Joey Logano at the end of the race. Him, I can't remember. It was him. There was a couple other people. Kyle Larson took 2 tires, and then everybody else behind Kyle Larson, somebody else, all took 4 tires. And Joey Logano was out there for a hot minute until Kyle Larson finally got to him and passed him. I don't know what that could be, what the issue is, but obviously you don't have to take brand new tires all the time, it seems like, because I don't know what it could be. I don't really know what it could be, honestly. But I saw that people that were on older tires were still able to stay out in front, which was just really weird, really kind of baffling. But I mean, at a track like Martinsville, I don't really think I don't think the tire fall off was really that big of a deal. I heard that there was a lot of guys talking about how the tire fall off wasn't enough.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing when you talk about a super speedway, but on short tracks, does NASCAR need to bring a softer tire?
I don't.
It sounds like they do.
I think it varies depending on what. I mean, like, okay, so with him talking about aerodynamic package, I think aerodynamics would mean more at Bristol than it would at Martinsville. A little bit higher speeds at Bristol than at Martinsville.
I would agree with that.
So now, if people were doing the same kind of strategy at Bristol, like, deciding not to take tires here, then you're probably going to get your doors blown off of you, probably.
But at the same time, he mentioned track position. Track position, regardless if it's 1976.
Track position is a big key at Martinsville.
Yeah, doesn't matter if it's 2023, 1973, 1993, 2003. Track position has always been the name of the game at short tracks, especially Martinsville and Bristol, where if you start in the back, you have that risk and you run that risk of getting run down by the leader, which we saw all weekend. Once they were in clean air, whether it's Ryan Reeves or Kyle Larson, more so in particular that I'm thinking of, they were gone.
Yeah, if you
were just gone.
and if you have a penalty, you're gonna have a tough time coming back. Like Kyle Busch got that penalty, and he got sent to the back, and then he couldn't make his way back to the front. I mean,
right,
like you said, track position is a key thing at
everywhere.
It's only like one groove of racing in Martinsville. Let's be real.
Right. I mean, even back in the early 2000s, there's always been one groove of racing in Martinsville.
Yeah. And a lot of guys were just having to knock each other out of the way to get that position.
And that's the way it was back then. And I saw a little bit of it this weekend, but I didn't see a lot of it. Nobody's taking each other out. Nobody just going crazy in there because, again, it's a qualifying race. This race doesn't mean anything. This fall race might be a little something different.
And then, of course, I feel like with the some of the drivers these days would complain about getting hit too much in the corner or something.
Probably. And
I think it's just,
we're probably looking at one right here who would probably complain about, but he has a little bit more to go. Again, if the audio quality is bad, I apologize. We're working on it. This is a Tesco, but we'll listen to the rest of his interview here.
Felt like a battle of track position. You've already talked about the ability to pass. What got the best out of it?
The racing is track position. This is the new.
We talked about that.
NASCAR, where these cars, you cannot pass. You just get out front. Don't mess up on pit road. Don't mess up your strategy, and you win. That's what 5 cars is done.
Don't mess up on pit road. Don't mess up on strategy, and you'll win. Sounds like a winning combination there, and that's what Kyle Larson did this past weekend.
Win. Just tinker along, and the race just falls, right perfectly for him.
All right, that was the interview right there with. I mean, anything else in regards to Denny Hamlin? What he said there, because to me it sounded like typical complaining. He didn't have the run that he wanted. I
think he secretly wants stage racing to go away.
No, I think everybody does. But what brings you to say that?
It's NASCAR. Like I said, okay. So, like for example, this race was a little bit shorter than it has been before. I think we did 400 laps last spring. It's just a new thing. The stage racing, the break was at like lap 80, and then the next one was not that far off again. I mean, if we just let the race play out, everybody can create their own strategies, but NASCAR's throwing this strategy in where you know that the stage break is coming, so you can set yourself up for that track position.
Right.
I miss the days of, we don't have stage racing, and then you just got to hope maybe the caution falls in your favor if you're trying to look to get to some kind of track position. Now it's kind of like a given that the track position is you're going to have a chance to figure out some way to get some kind of track position. That's just my take on it, honestly.
Right.
Instead of letting the flow of things just happen.
Like we saw at COTA this past year. I mean, COTA was a perfect example of why stage racing should go away, because COTA was a great race compared to the other races.
I know that track position varies on different tracks, but at a place like Martinsville, it is like we said, it's a very high key thing because there's only just about 1 to 1.5 grooves of racing. Honestly, remember the old days back in the 2000s when if you were on the bottom, you better stay there, because if you get moved to the top groove, boy, you're out of luck.
More so at Bristol, I feel, than any.
Well, it used to be at
Martinsville as well.
I mean, that's almost like it is, but now, I mean, the groove is a little bit wider at, like, say, Martinsville, but track position,
it's always been
track position is always the name of the game. It just depends on how it falls at different tracks. At Martinsville, yes, it's a huge deal.
And at Bristol, it's a huge deal. Yeah. At road courses, it's a huge deal. Yeah. Daytona, Talladega, maybe not so much. You can find your way up there. But, I mean, come on, man. The winning car had the right strategy, had the right track position, didn't make a mistake on pit road, and won the race, as is the normal winning combination that you see in every car that goes in the victory lane, whether it be we're just lucky, which rarely happens. You can't just be lucky in auto racing and get up there, or else BJ McLeod might have a top 10 or 2 or maybe a win by this point in his career.
Yeah.
Just saying. Anything else regarding what Denny Hamlin said there?
No, nothing.
Next topic I want to bring up here. The Truck Series race was rain shortened. It was also delayed for 2 hours due to lightning and heavy rain. Trucks started on wet weather tires. Decent racing. NASCAR threw the caution once they deemed the track to be dry enough to have the teams put them on slicks. And there's question 1. Question 2 is later on in the race, it started raining again. NASCAR cautioned the race. Brought them down pit road. Called the race. And we have a clip from Kyle Busch about this, who was in the race, although I don't like him being in the Cup or Truck or Xfinity races. He makes a good point. But those 2 questions. Starting on question 1 here. We'll just do question 1 here.
Okay.
NASCAR calling a caution after they're on the wet weather tires to put them on slicks. Good call. Good for NASCAR or bad for NASCAR?
Honestly, I don't really know how to answer this question yet because we haven't really gone down a long road for this yet. NASCAR's still trying to figure it out. If it were up to me, before any of this would have happened, I would have made sure that I tested a heck of a lot more with it, because I feel like it should be up to teams to decide when they want to go on slicks. But at the same time, I also kind of find it really annoying that NASCAR says, okay, we have a competition caution. We ran, I don't remember how many laps they even ran. It wasn't really that many. I mean, it was first of all, I'm sorry. I have to say it for the sake of things. Michael Waltrip is a joke when it comes to the broadcast booth.
We'll get more into Fox here in a few seconds.
I'm sorry. When I started watching the race and his comment was, "Oh man, this racing is great." I'm like, dude, it's lap 1. Like, the racing is always going to look crazy on lap 1. I just don't understand what you're saying. Are you trying to make the wet weather package look like it's a good thing? Because it's lap 1. Calm down. All right, let's see. But anyways, back to what you're saying. I feel with NASCAR going, okay, well, we're going to throw this competition caution. Oh yeah, by the way, don't worry about losing your position because everyone's going to put slicks on. You guys are going to come right back out where you were. No, that's not how this works. How about, no, this is a race, for God's sakes. That's not fair. Bring them down pit road, and it's just a regular pit stop. If you get out first, congratulations, you got out first. None of this little, I'm tired of this because the Truck Series is becoming like this thing where NASCAR can just like research and figure things out, so they can use the Truck Series as this this guinea pig.
The guinea pig.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Well, we're not gonna throw them into the deep end here. So, you guys are gonna come in. You're gonna put slicks on, but everyone gets to keep the position where they were. What is this? Like, what? I don't get it. I just don't get it. That's the thing that really bugged me the most.
I'll tell you the answer for me for question 1. I'm okay with them. I was not okay with this call. Let's just say I was going off on another tangent right here for question 2. I'm okay with them starting on wets and then having the teams decide what time is best for them to go on slicks. Perfect example of this. It wasn't a short track race because this is a new package for NASCAR to bring them on, have a little bit of rain racing on short tracks. But we saw it in the Roval. I believe it was 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've already been corrected on YouTube about North Wilkesboro, 96 being the last race, not 93. Our grateful, gracious fans. No harm. I got caught out. I got the driver right, though. It was Jeff Gordon. But the Roval showed us that you don't have to throw a caution to throw slicks on. Because I remember it was Ty Dillon who came in and they said, we're putting slicks on the track. You stay in the groove, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
This dry spot. And he was making up time. He was the fastest car on the track in that 13 Geico car. It might have been 2018. But he was booking. And then other teams said, we got to, just like Formula One, we got to put on slick tires because if he could do it, we could do it.
Yeah, everyone's just basically waiting for the first person to do it
Right,
to
and
see what they. That first person is the guinea pig.
So what I will say to this, what NASCAR needs to do with this wet weather package, if they want this to succeed on short tracks, which is a great idea, I'm not against the idea of racing in the rain. We'll use that term lightly on short tracks. What I am against is NASCAR trying to control it to the point where it's like you said, okay, come in, put on slicks, everybody comes out the same position. Don't race on pit road, which I can understand why they did it, because the pit road might be wet, put slicks on everybody, and then just crashes on pit road. I can understand that. I don't agree with it, but I can understand the justification of why NASCAR would say don't race off of the wet pit road on slicks.
Maybe they should try and drive pit road during the couple
Maybe
pace laps or something.
I'm not against you on that. Find a way to fix it, NASCAR.
I'm sure there's a lot that goes. I mean, there probably is a lot to figure out how to fix something like that, but
no, there is. And that's why I don't know why the truck, I think it just happened to be the truck series racing there at the time that this happened. But then question 2 comes up, where we're going to listen to Kyle Busch talk about it from the front stretch about the racing in the rain. And this is all focused on racing in the rain. It was coming down. The race has already been called. He's walking back to his hauler. So we'll go ahead and listen to Kyle Busch here real quick. Okay.
Okay.
So, I guess how frustrating was it that the race there were so many caution laps that took up stage 2?
Yeah, that killed our race. I mean, we were hoping we did set up for a long run truck, you know.
I got to just point out here, this guy behind Kyle Busch holding the umbrella, that's got to be the worst job in the garage. I just wanted to bring that up here real quick.
And we never got that. The longest run of the race that we got was on the wet. So just, nothing's gone our way strategy-wise this year, so we might as well stop trying.
How was it racing in the rain, Kyle?
It was fine, no big deal. I mean, don't call it rain. It wasn't rain. It was dry. It wasn't raining.
I figured he's talking about the start of the race, and
Yeah.
yes, it was. I think what NASCAR was looking at intending for this package to be racing in the rain, drying off the track, increasing, like we talked about a few weeks ago, that track drying process, not necessarily racing in the rain. So don't call it a rain package or wet weather pack. It's
supposed to, I think, get back to racing a little bit quicker.
Right. It's supposed to help out the fans in broadcasting, according to NASCAR.
He is kind of right. That it's not like the track was like wet.
Right. We're not seeing the standing start. I was expecting this, but then this real rain came in. I was expecting to see we already used rain tires once, put them back on. We'll listen to the rest of Kyle Busch. It's about 20 more seconds here and go from there.
The track was a little bit wet, and the tires were drying the rest of the track, the rest of the way. But like right now, I mean, honestly, this is a little bit heavy of a rain, maybe, depending on the spray, but we didn't even give it a chance. Wasting our time.
What was the fall off like?
Yeah, there's fall off. We need more tires like those.
Okay, right there. We didn't give it a chance. NASCAR didn't even give it a chance. Now, I could see here, if the rain comes, either one or two things need to happen. NASCAR needs to decide, okay, we're going to leave it in the team's hands to go on from slicks to wets. Just like Formula One, they see the rain coming in, spotters up there. Hey, I feel rain. Come in. Or I could see where they would say, throw the caution, put everybody on wets, but race off the pit road.
Yeah.
At this point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? NASCAR didn't even give it a chance, according to Kyle Busch, and I believe Kyle Busch in this instance.
Yeah, so I do agree with this. I agree that they didn't give it a chance. So I saw some comments on social media of, somebody commented saying, oh, how come they didn't want to race in this? Oh, what's the point of the wet weather package? And then somebody came back and said, well, it's not really supposed to meant for rain. It's supposed to just, if the track is wet, it's supposed to get back to racing. And then, they tried to compare it to like, oh, these tires are kind of like what F1's intermediate tires are. It's not for racing in rain. I was like, okay, now wait a minute. Okay. Obviously you don't watch F1 enough. They'll race in rain.
You know what Preston just said there? Sit down, shut up, and listen.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, first of all, you obviously don't watch F1 enough to know that F1 has two types of wet tires, intermediates and full on wets. They race intermediates even if it is raining. It just depends on how hard it's raining. If it's raining hard, that's what they're putting full on wet tires on. It's 2 different treads. What NASCAR has is almost kind of like what an intermediate would be in F1. It doesn't matter. This is a package that is brought for short tracks. We're not racing at high speeds. It didn't look like the rain was falling heavy. I didn't really take the chance to look and see if there was any kind of standing water anywhere. But if we're not racing at high speeds and we have these quote unquote, whatever you call it, mud flaps or whatever to reduce the spray, why aren't we trying it then? But then again, it comes back to my question. Did NASCAR even test this enough to even figure it out? Because then at this point, if they didn't really test it enough, then why do we have it out here? If we're not going to get to test it, if you didn't test it enough, then why do we even have this? Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and do it a little bit more testing on it before bringing it out here. But like how I do kind of sympathize with Kyle Busch. Why didn't we see what it looks like if we have things in place, windshield wipers for spray and maybe whatever rain and all the mud flaps to reduce the spray coming off the back of trucks or, the cars or whatever. Why don't we try it then?
I think I know why. I think I know why they don't try it.
Is it because it could be a wreck fest? Which, I mean, I can understand.
No.
A lot of these guys probably don't.
COTA 2020?
I can't remember.
Was it 20? The first time they raced the COTA, I want to say it was 2020 because I think that's when the whole COVID thing, it was during COVID, I believe. That big accident involving Martin Truex Jr. and Cole Custer almost changed the game with wet weather racing, period. On road courses, on short tracks, period. That almost changed because that was such a cluster. I want to say it was 2020, but that's a moot point. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows which race I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Back to your point, though, if this was the perfect opportunity, they'll be at the Truck Series. You said they were being used as guinea pigs. Why not use it all the way and say, let's see what happens? But then somebody up there in the booth go, remember COTA? That's when I want to say what happened. It was an unfortunate thing. I think they could have kept racing. I think it would have been interesting. Even with the standing water, I mean, I think it would have done well. But then that's what gives opportunities. We talked about it after the COTA race. Up-track the drainage for the track. If you expect if short tracks, especially tracks like Martinsville, where it's relatively flat, but there is a grade, you need to put drainage systems in there. It might cost you $1 million or a couple $1 million, but you can find a way to make a drainage system to alleviate that. But I think the big thing why they didn't go for there was because of the COTA races.
I'm torn.
But you see, I can see your point, but
I think no. I think NASCAR just needs to just scrap this whole thing. My head, I think it's got to go. It's got to go.
If you're not going to use it, it's in 2 cases like this.
It's got to go. I'm sorry. It's gonna have
good initiative, bad judgment, NASCAR.
Yeah, it's gonna have to. It's just. I'm trying to think of it, and it just in the long run, it just doesn't make any sense. If they want something like if their claim to fame is to help to get back to racing quicker, what's the point? There's really no point.
No.
It's not, because you're just going to bring everybody down pit road. Everyone's going to put slicks on, and then you're still going to have people come out in the same spots because NASCAR is going to be too afraid to mess something up and then have somebody complain and cry to them about it the whole time. I think it just needs to go. Honestly, it's not something. It can't be done at road course. It cannot. For stock cars, at least, it can't unless they can figure out how to control the spray or whatever, and if they want to race in heavy rain or not, whatever. Blah blah blah. It can't work. I'm trying to think of it like. For example, I'm trying to think of like Bristol, maybe if the track was it's just no. I can't.
Bristol wouldn't work out at all because
I can't because at this point NASCAR is trying to make us think that they would race in some kind of rain at some point on a track, and it would be a heck of a lot different between Bristol and Martinsville, because you're talking about higher banking, and then if cars are having to slow down to not spin out. Well, what if there's water coming down the track and then the cars are starting to lose that traction going through banking of corners because they're not going fast enough? It's just an idea that needs to be scrapped overall. In NASCAR, it's just a bad idea.
This is their second opportunity to do it. First one was at Richmond. According to reports and what people stated on YouTube, it was too much water, standing water. It just didn't work out. This one, I feel like it could have worked out. But I mean, we'll never know.
It's not okay. So here's an idea. Here's another thing too. There's a difference between open wheel and a stock car. Okay, open wheel, water can go anywhere at once when they're running on the track. Water can go straight up in the air. But you're talking about a stock car, an enclosed wheel well.
Bender.
Whatever. It's going to cause hydroplaning is the problem.
No, it is.
So why even try it then? Why are we even looking into something like this if that's going to be an issue?
It's a good point.
I'm just saying, I'm thinking it more and more. I just think it just needs to be scrapped overall.
No.
You know,
Okay, fair enough.
if we don't get to race one night, okay, then we're just going to have to race the next day. Big deal.
Yep. Or put lights at every track. We'll wait till the weather passes.
Exactly. I mean, the truck series race.
Oh,
Somebody broke it down. Nearly 51% of the actual laps that were run were all under caution to begin with. What are we even doing there? That race didn't even get, like Kyle Busch said, the longest run they had was on the wet tires anyways. I mean, what's going on here? You know, it seems like just a rinky-dink circus in the truck series at this point.
Right. Okay. I see your point there. But okay, anything else before we move on?
No, let's move on.
Controversial topic here. I think this is going to be the one that's either going to make or break us, and probably a lot of people might agree, a lot of people might disagree. The hype that Fox brought to the return of Chase Elliott, was it justified or wasn't it? Because I've never seen a hype like that.
Of course, it has to be justified
for a return of a driver ever. Because I've seen Denny Hamlin get hurt, no hype. Kyle Busch get hurt. Maybe a road to recovery. Kyle Busch was talked about a little bit. Definitely didn't see it for Alex Bowman. Didn't see it for a number of drivers. Why Chase Elliott? Okay, disclaimer here, not a Chase Elliott fan. I'm not a Chase Elliott fan whatsoever. Any driver that's NASCAR's most popular driver is automatically my least favorite driver on the circuit. Dale Jr., Chase Elliott now. Most popular driver, I cheer against the most. Did Fox hype it up too much?
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have
agree.
okay, so I'll say this. I have nothing against Chase Elliott. I'm not a fan. I have nothing against him. I don't hate the guy or anything like that. He is, but of course they're gonna hype it up because he's NASCAR's most popular driver, blah blah blah. You know, this and that. You know, of course, you know, it was talked about for a while. Some people, you know, I think there may have been comments out there from fans that say, well, I'm not going to watch racing because Chase Elliott comes back. And, you know, it was talked about on some shows about, is Chase Elliott returning going to be what the ratings need? Like, okay, first of all, if you're not watching because your driver is quote unquote injured or however you want to put it, or he's just out, suspended, whatever, if you're not watching, then you're obviously not a fan of the sport to begin with.
Agreed.
Like, I don't understand why some people would think that, this is going to be a ratings boost because Chase Elliott's coming back. Oh my God, he's the most popular driver. Whatever. Yes, Fox played it up way too much. And it was annoying. My brother even texted me, said, boy, you know, this is, he goes, man, is Chase Elliott coming back today or something? Or did I miss something? Like, that was him sarcastically saying they're talking about it way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really hear them. Maybe I might have missed it, but I didn't really hear it talked about that much during the actual race broadcast itself. But I don't know, NASCAR. I think Fox just does this thing where I don't know if it's just Fox or if it's NASCAR in general, honestly, on this one. Now, I mean, I'll throw this out there real quick and I'll go back to it. I mean, like the whole Ross Chastain thing. I mean, Fox Sports was playing that up all weekend long. Oh my God, all weekend long. It was the Hail Melon. I'm like, oh my God. You know, like it was cool in theory at one time, but God almighty.
It was cool in theory, awesome in practice. Let it go. It's over.
Yeah, we're done.
But
I don't need to see it happening. I don't need you to show it to me during qualifying. I don't need to keep talking about it over and over again. It was a product that NASCAR created because it was a playoff thing. That's all it was. You would never ever seen it ever any other time whatsoever. I think Kyle Busch tried it one time in Darlington, not a big deal. Anyways, back to Chase Elliott. So yes, I feel like they hyped it up way too much. I kind of want to. Can I create controversy?
For it. Create it, buddy.
All right, I'm going to create the controversy.
As your buddy Eric Bischoff would say, controversy creates cash.
I have to say this, and
say it.
I wanted.
We live in America, free speech.
I really wanted to try and back up my statement as to what I'm going to say because I know I'm probably gonna make a lot of people angry. And quite honestly, I don't care, honestly, because it's my opinion and I can say whatever I want.
You're an American.
And if people want to comment and be haters of the show, that's fine, because guess what? That means you're watching our clips, obviously, and you're commenting, which means you're still visiting the page. So it's whatever. But here it goes.
Let's hear it, buddy.
Chase Elliott does not deserve a playoff waiver. I said it. There it is. I said it. And you know what? I don't care because I feel good about it. You want to know why? You want to know why I think of it? Because of the way the system is worked these days. Because NASCAR decided to forego this thing before the season started, where if you're going to get a waiver, you don't have to be in the top 30 in points anymore. So basically, Chase Elliott has to win one time, and guess what? He's in the playoffs. I don't agree with it. I don't, and somebody put it out there before of all the list of drivers that got playoff waivers, and there are things in there like, okay, so somebody missed one race because of COVID. That was something that we had to deal with.
Right.
Not a big, but there was other drivers like Denny Hamlin who got injured in an on-track accident. He got a playoff waiver. Kyle Busch got a playoff waiver when he broke his legs.
In the Xfinity
Series. Yes, an on-track accident, I get it, but he still, when he came back, he still had to be in the top 30 in points. Dude came back and just wiped the competition. He said, yeah, sure, I'll be in the top 30 in points.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, I'm not trying to raise any conspiracy theories or anything, but it just seems kind of convenient that, well, we're going to forego before the season. We're going to forego you having to be in the top 30 in owner point and driver's points. And now that, we have this whole win and you're in thing, because when Kyle Busch got back, there was no win and you were in. You had to get back there. Oh, I think there might have been win and you were in. I can't remember. It was years and years ago. Right. It was like 2016 or something.
Yeah. It was early. It was a while ago.
But all of a sudden, there's this thing that, Chase Elliott is back. And
15, I believe. But
all he has to do is win one race, and he's going to make the playoffs. I don't like that. It doesn't sit. Yeah, unless we get 16 other drivers that win, and then he's got to somehow figure out his way to get into the top 16.
Right, which is a far-fetched thing. I feel now that everybody's gotten used to the car, but I will let me put your mind at ease, Preston.
Okay.
When Chase Elliott got hurt, I was flying solo. I forget what episode number it was. I'll link it somewhere. In fact, I'll bring it up and I'll post a clip with this clip because it'll be in YouTube thing. I said, of course, Chase Elliott's going to get a waiver. He's NASCAR's most popular driver. There is no way that NASCAR will say, sorry, kid, broke your leg. You got to earn it. You got to be in the top 30 points, which, to your point, they got rid of it. But with this win in your in system, of course he's going to find a way to win. Talladega is coming up here. He won there in the fall race. He can win at Talladega again. He's won at road courses. We got road courses coming up here between now and Daytona. We got Daytona coming up. There is plenty of opportunities for Chase Elliott to win. Of course he's going to win. Now, if you watch and listen to our friends, I say listen to our friends over there at the blind spotting at the Colorado Creek compound there, they're adamant that Chase Elliott doesn't deserve a waiver because of what he did in his extracurricular activities. If you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote, but they were pretty much in agreements with you and their agreements with me. Chase Elliott doesn't deserve a waiver because of something because he's NASCAR's most popular driver. He doesn't deserve that. Would they do the same thing to BJ McLeod? It wouldn't be the hype that Chase Elliott is.
And that's another thing too. It's how come we don't hype up other drivers in general? Someone brought up that good point. How come we're not hyping up? Someone just brought up, how come we're not hyping up other drivers in general like this?
You want to know why, Preston?
Because he's NASCAR's most popular driver.
Speaking of Eric Bischoff, we're going to go to pro wrestling here. This isn't a pro wrestling podcast, but there is this thing called a push in pro wrestling. I know you're a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
There's a push. And either you have one shot to impress, and if you make it, great. If you don't, you get sent back to the back. BJ McLeod hasn't done anything to put his name on the radar except being BJ McLeod and being a driver owner. Ross Chastain put his name on the map way before the hell melon by being an aggressive driver. Chase Elliott didn't have to do much. Son of Bill Elliott. Oh, okay. Now, of course, if Charlie and Austin were here, they would say, hey, he's a good driver.
He's a good driver.
He's a good driver. Even in the late models, he did well. Napa's, he's always had good sponsors. Yeah. He's always had the best equipment. to me, Chase Elliott doesn't deserve it. I'm with you, but Chase Elliott doesn't deserve a lot if you ask me.
I think I'll break it down like this. I think NASCAR needs to go and take a look at, I guess they just need to lay out this plan, or they need to figure out what the current layout is. I feel like if you're going to be involved in extracurricular activities, not per se motorsports first, just in general, if you get hurt, okay, well, a playoff waiver should be really certain exceptions. For something like this, I feel like it shouldn't. I don't think you should get. I hate to say it like that. I probably come off as being somebody like a stinge or somebody, just somebody that's being mean. But I mean, I just feel like that's how it should be. If you're going to take part in extracurricular activities, you're putting yourself at risk. And I know that there's some contracts out there where some teams don't want guys to do certain things. I think it should be that. I think it should be if you're going to race in other series that don't pertain to NASCAR, then you're putting yourself at risk. If you're going to race in like the Xfinity or truck race, I don't know. That's a gray area, I guess I could say. If it's within the 3 top series in NASCAR, okay, maybe. But if you're going to do extracurricular activities that don't involve racing, or if you're going to do racing that has nothing to do with the top 3 series in NASCAR, and you get injured, I'm sorry. That's just, I just feel like that should be the name of the game. You know what? That just opens the door for somebody else to get a chance.
I agree.
But now he's back after 6 races, which good on him for the leg healing and everything. I'm not wishing bad upon, Chase Elliott. I almost called him a kid because I'm pretty sure I'm almost the same age as he is at this point, and maybe he's a little younger than I am. But
right,
I'm not wishing anything bad upon him. I just don't think it's fair.
Nobody is, but I'm with you.
If NASCAR wants to come out and preach about things being fair, like the cars being almost alike and fair, which really and truly are kind of not. I mean, they might be a little bit closer than what it was in years past, but still not level competition. I don't think he deserves a waiver. That's just me. And of course, people are going to say, oh, all these other people got waivers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. That's in years past. But I'm looking at the now and the way the system is set up.
Yep.
He doesn't have to do anything but win one time. The dude can go out on Sunday and win. And guess what? He's in the playoffs right away. And then guess what? NASCAR and the Fox broadcasts are going to ride that high until Fox is off the air, whenever they're.
And then NBC will take the baton, man.
I don't think NBC will really take the baton.
No, they will. They
so.
Will. And those fan bases at Talladega will cheer for him.
Oh,
and they'll be like, yay, Chase Elliott came back and won. Just like they did at the fall. I think I was the only one in the stands. Boo.
It's funny that you say also that we talk about how come they don't play up other drivers. I mean, Talladega came right out and said, hey, man, we got a cool tickets package for Chase Elliott coming back. You can get a grandstand ticket and something else and a Q&A with them for like $200. I don't see that happening for other drivers when they come back. They're just like, hey, we're going to take it and run with it. Chase Elliott's coming back. We know he's got a big fan base there. So
it's Talladega.
Yeah. So they're like, hey, you know what? Chase Elliott's coming back, to celebrate it. How come we don't celebrate anybody else coming back?
I agree, man. Okay. We could beat a dead horse on that. Anything else regarding that?
No.
Okay. Last topic regarding the NASCAR races, and then we'll get into a quick recap of the IndyCar race and preview Talladega for you guys. Did reducing the number of laps help or hurt the Martinsville race from 500 to 400?
I don't think it either. I don't think it hurts or helps it, honestly. Well, no, I would say it's kind of in the middle. I don't think it's neither. I mean, I'm cool with 400 laps. I'm cool with 400 laps in the spring, and then we do 500 in the fall. Cool.
Okay, and we do that at Darlington as well.
Yeah,
we race a 400 we race a 400 lap race, and then we race a 500 lap. Oh my gosh. We race a 400-mile race during the spring, the Mother's Day weekend at Darlington, and in the Southern 500 in September, Labor Day weekend. However, I will say this. I feel like it is a slippery slope because after, that was an okay race. It was still, I feel like, the same amount of time. It didn't help or hurt. I mean, I felt like maybe it would have made things a little more interesting towards the end to see what would have happened. You want to see beating and banging increase the fuse or shorten the fuse a little more by increasing the lap count. And then when they start beating and banging there with 50 to go, I mean, it could have happened at 350 or a 450. I'm not a big fan of it because then what's next? Oh, the Coke 600 is too long of a race. The Daytona 500 could be the Daytona 400. It's a slippery slope. And now we start reducing one. We reduce Watkins Glen. We reduce Sonoma.
I can tell you why that is.
Okay, why is that?
The fan base.
Okay.
Nobody wants to sit these days and watch races like it was years ago. The fan base that they're going after, a younger crowd, does not. And again, it's not trying to be mean here, but it's clearly right there. Some people just don't have the attention span anymore. And like you said, it's a slippery slope. And I've said it before. You think they're going to start short races? They probably will, because NASCAR is going after this thing where they think they have to create drama all the time. They're trying to create it.
Right.
Hence why the stagers are there, and hence why the lap counts are going to start going down, because they think, oh, it's almost going to be like mini sprint races inside of the race, because nobody's going to want to sit there and just watch a green flag runs. They're going to hope for cautions to happen. That's what they want. It's like what Tony Stewart said a few years ago. I don't think we wrecked enough cars here today.
Yeah, Talladega.
That's exactly, but it's not even Talladega. It's just, that's what I see it as, view it as. And when you bring up a slippery slope of the lap counts are going to start going down, that's what I see. It's because the audience cannot sit there and just watch it anymore. It's just that the people that they're going after, they don't have the attention span. So they have to create all this beating and banging and all these cautions to hope that we get all these double file restarts, because it just creates drama every single time. That's just me.
Agreed. All right. Anything else regarding the NASCAR races from Martinsville? Okay. Well, real quick here, the Long Beach Grand Prix, there for the IndyCar Series. Kyle Kirkwood winning his first time out there in the IndyCar Series. Mentioned it before the show. I think even during the top of the show, you liked the race.
I loved it.
Okay, you loved it.
Yeah, I loved every second of it.
It was
just me. I thought it was a good race. It's just, for me, it's a breath of fresh air to go and watch a series where there's no stages cut into it.
Yep.
It's just a regular race from start to finish. We don't have all these bullcrap stops in it, whatever. Everything plays. The drama plays out naturally.
Yep.
Let's just put it like that. And you know what? The top three cars were all within a second and a half of each other right there at the end for the longest time.
It was a good race.
I mean, Roman Grosjean had over 100, and what their equivalent of DRS is like a push to pass kind of deal, but they can use it anywhere.
But they only have a certain amount of times. I believe it's 7 or 8 times that they could use that push to pass during the course of the race.
You can do you get like 200 seconds, but you can only use it in 20-second intervals. So Roman Grosjean had like over 150 to use, which he tried to use at the end, but Kirkwood still was able to stay ahead of him. But I mean, I just thought it was a great race in general. I thought it was good. It played out well. It's how a regular race should always play out. You let the drama play out itself. You don't create the drama.
Right.
And it sure as heck played out. I mean, the top three guys, like I said, all within a second and a half of each other. Great job on Kyle Kirkwood, by the way, too.
Congratulations to him. Yeah,
congratulations to him. I thought it was a good race. Good for him. He's buddies with Logan Sargent, the other another American who races F1.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see Logan Sargent back on track next week.
I'd like to try to get Logan Sargent on the show.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. You could try.
We've had Connor Daly on the show from IndyCar.
We did.
Even though he struggled again yesterday. I think he finished somewhere in the 20s. I think he was like a lap down, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, but we still had an IndyCar driver on.
That's right, we did.
Anything else about the IndyCar series
Nope.
before? Okay, previewing here Talladega. 2 races this weekend, just 2. The Xfinity and Cup series racing in Talladega. Hercus series is racing there as well. Not as hyped up as the Cup and Xfinity. What do you expect from this weekend?
I don't expect a lot. I think it's going to be the usual tame super speedway racing. I won't say restricted play because we're not in those times anymore.
Correct.
I think it's going to be it may not seem as tamed as like a Daytona would, because with Talladega you have more, it's a wider groove. So we will see like a lot of 3 wide racing as opposed to like a Daytona. I want to say we'll probably see a point where there's single file, but I don't think we will.
I know we will. I can guarantee you. It's more so in the Xfinity series. They're going to find their way up to the top, and they're just going to rim ride the whole time.
It's going to be a lot of riding around
until
probably.
5 laps to go into the stage.
And then we're going to have about 3,000 overtimes.
And then we're going to have the cars breaking down, and it's going to be a crazy finish for the stage. And then when the green flags drops for stage 2, and I could see this for the
I don't
Cup
think
race
it'll
as
be.
well.
I don't think it'd be crazy finishes for the stages at all.
No, I do. 100% I do. Then for stage 2, they're going to restart, try to get the positions they can, get in line, go to the top, and ride there the whole time. And it's going to be boring because it isn't like the way it was back in the early 2000s. And I feel like kind of a hypocrite here because it's like, oh, it's not every race is beating and banging, but restricted plate tracks, but not even that. Super speedway racing comes with an expectation of pack racing, door to door, 200 miles an hour, 3 wide, or at least 2x2 for 500 miles. Not anymore. Save your equipment, go up to the track, count the laps. Let the laps count down. Stage is coming up, expect a race. Restarting of the race after the stage, find the groove, get up to the top, ride. Come to the stage, race it, game on. Third stage, go up to the top, run. Maybe a pit stop or 2 to break up the field, bring it back, go up to the top, race. 10 laps to go, 7 laps to go, then you can start racing. All bets are off.
I have a question.
There's no drama. I mean, I was there at Talladega for the fall race, and let me tell you what, it was the same thing as Daytona. I was expecting awesomeness there at Talladega, but when I was actually there, it was just like Daytona, only instead of Florida, it's in Alabama. There was nothing different to Talladega to me that made me go, wow, I want to go back to Talladega. Because the package they bring is horrible restrictor plate for it. It's horrible super speedway racing. It wasn't anything besides Daytona with 0.16 miles more. 0.016 miles more.
Okay.
Or 2.66, so 0.116 miles longer. And the start finish line is off of in the pit road.
Yeah.
Talladega is nothing special.
Let me ask you this.
Let's ask it.
So, what years ago? Remember back in 2010, 11, maybe 12? I can't remember how long of a period. Remember when at the super speedway tracks it was just like tandem racing?
Most horrible racing I have ever seen.
You didn't like that?
I hated tandem.
I love
racing.
it.
Hated.
That's what throws the strategy into it. That's what makes it more exciting. No. I think that makes it more exciting than what it is now.
No, well, here and now, I mean, tandem racing.
Let's be real. It wasn't like that when NASCAR was around for the first few decades. There was no pack racing. It was almost kind of like that.
Okay, fair enough. But at the same time, I hated tandem racing.
I thought tandem racing was great. You had to switch every few laps. Make sure you didn't overheat.
Right.
Sometimes guys would get unhooked and everything, and you'd be falling back. I thought it threw great strategy into the whole deal. You never know if your driver was going to be up there or not. It's not like a pack. I mean, you have guys that were just 2x2 hooking up with each other, and they were there, and then they weren't there, and then somebody else would show up. I thought that was a little bit better than what we have now, honestly.
Right. The best super speedway racing I've ever seen was 2001, 2002, 2x2, lap after lap. You could form a line and go and get up to the front. There was no... It was fun racing. It was edge of your seat racing. The best Talladega race I ever saw, 2001, EA Sports 500, final lap. Bobby Labonte went on his roof, caused a big one. Dale Jr., Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton racing for the win. Dale Jr. ends up winning. The best race at Talladega I've ever seen. I went to Talladega expecting that. I was gravely disappointed, not only because there was a green-white checkered, but because Chase Elliott won. So I don't expect anything. I don't expect anything crazy from this weekend. Am I still excited about Talladega coming up on the schedule? Yes and no. I like the super speedway racing. It's fun racing, but it doesn't bring that what could happen.
It's not, yeah.
Because everybody does wall ride. And with the stages, you know there's going to be a break. 2 breaks at least.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not fun for me anymore.
Yeah.
To me, it isn't, okay, they made it this lap. Can they make it the next lap?
Oh, yeah. I remember those kind of days. They right on the edge of your seat.
Those days are long gone in the world of NASCAR super speedway racing.
Are they going to make it back around? Oh my God.
You know they're going to make it. You know they're going to make it back around when they're up there wall riding. It's like,
Because nobody's going to start making moves until
nobody's gonna
15 and 10 to go, maybe 20.
maybe 5 to go. Somebody, and it, Clint Boy or Mike Joy, who's going to be the first to jump out? Who's going to be the first? Oh, AJ Allmendinger, first to jump out. Oh, nobody went with him. It's not fun anymore. Talladega and Daytona have lost their luster because of that. And it started with tandem racing.
Okay. All right.
Anything else about this upcoming weekend at Talladega, Preston?
No.
All right. Start times for this weekend. Cup Series will race Sunday, April 23rd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox. The Xfinity Series will race Saturday, April 22nd. And I think I said April 22nd. It's April 23rd. There's Sunday, this coming up Sunday for the Cup Series. The Xfinity Series will be Saturday, April 22nd, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FS1. Race winners for this weekend.
What's yours?
I think I already put mine in there because I put it in there.
Oh, yeah, you did. Look. Oh, wow. Really?
Low-hanging
wait
fruit.
a minute. Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, low-hanging fruit here. I got to go with Chase Elliott.
I can't. I'm disappointed in you right now.
Well, you could have been. You saw it right there.
I know. I'm actually going to change my pick because I did write somebody down. And
who'd you write down?
I wrote down Bubba Wallace.
Oh, he's won there before.
Yeah.
Although people say there's an asterisk by it because it was rain shortened, but nobody puts an asterisk. Nobody puts an asterisk next to Dale Jr.'s win at Phoenix because there was a rain shortened race.
Just saying. It's because everybody wanted to hate on Bubba at that time. I'm going to change my pick. I think Bubba Wallace will do great, but I would like to say, I'm going to say it, Michael McDowell. I'm going to have to say it. I think
you've called that before and it's hit big on that.
I think Bubba Wallace does great, but I'm going to go Michael McDowell.
Right.
I think that's going to be a better pick.
All right. Michael McDowell for you. What about Xfinity Series?
It's funny. Your backup driver is a driver that I picked for my primary, Daniel Hemrick.
Daniel Hemrick, always a win right there. I feel like he got screwed at RCR back in 2019.
Yeah, you're always salty about that. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you.
That's a hill I'm willing to die on because go back and listen to earlier episodes.
I don't blame you.
Justin Allgaier gets it done there for Junior Motorsports there at Talladega. Preston, anything else? Nope, nothing else. No save rounds or anything before we get into our final thoughts.
No, I'm curious about these final thoughts, these fantasy standings.
All right. I did it, but I don't know how I did. So let's go ahead and get into our final thoughts here, Preston. Before we wrap up today's episode, I wanted to remind everyone out there about a partner that has been with Ramblin About Racing since we were called In the Marbles Weekly Racing Podcast and since we were on the Unhinged Sports Network, and that is Fanatics. Fanatics is your one-stop shop for everything NASCAR, for your favorite drivers' t-shirts, hoodies, hats, die-cast, and so much more. But it isn't just NASCAR. I get all my Alabama Crimson Tide gear from there, as well as my Washington Capitals gear there as well. One-stop shop for everything you need, any type of sport you need. Links can be found under the sponsor tab at ramblinaboutracin.com, as well as under the podcast description and YouTube description, depending on whether you're watching or listening to Ramblin' About Racing. Head over there right now and get your favorite sports gear need for this upcoming season.
White flag, white flag. White flag, white flag. White flag. 1 lap to go. 1 lap right here.
Final thoughts on this week's episode of Ramblin' About Racing. If you survived this long, whether you're on YouTube or your regular podcast platform, really do appreciate it. It's been an interesting episode, somewhat of a short episode, I feel, for all the amount of information that we crammed in there.
Yeah.
Not necessarily about the race like we talked about, but more so about the mess-ups, I guess you could call it.
Well, we could be that alternative podcast where people come to not want to listen to people talk about the race reviews in general, but just topics, things that we can find,
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking race resorts. First of all, I love talking racing. That's why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
We love talking racing. There's very few people who understand this sport. There's very few people who enjoy this sport, and there's very few people who understand this sport. I'm not going to claim to be one of those people who's like, I know everything, because I'm not Bob Howcrest. I'm not in there with it. I'm not anything like that. But what I am is a passionate fan of the sport. I love this sport. I want to see the sport succeed, not just NASCAR, but Formula One and IndyCar. I want to see that succeed. Short track racing. I love auto racing. This could be the alternative podcast to NASCAR. We're not anti-NASCAR.
No, I just think that we're, like I said before, I feel like we're that alternative podcast that we don't know, like you said, we don't know all the details behind everything. We're just a couple of guys that watch it as fans, and we just like to give our perspective as fans of the sport, and then talk about things that may not get talked about a lot. You know,
Right.
like Jay, you know, like we said in today's show, was the Chase Elliott hype too much? You know, and stuff like that.
Yep.
Things that maybe other podcasts may not talk about.
Because they're like, oh, man, I really like Chase Elliott, because everybody's a damn Chase Elliott fan. I don't know what it is about Chase Elliott. I don't get it. Whatever. It's not the point here. All right. Final thoughts this week on this week here at Ramblin About Racing. Fantasy standings always up first, Preston.
Oh my, do you see that?
I see that. I think I saw that on the way there.
Well, oh my God.
Your
My
camera's
finger's
right there, by the way.
stuck in the number 1 position. Oh, wait, that's right. Because
you know
for the
who's else-
second week in a row,
you know who-
I came in first.
You know
so.
whose else finger was stuck in the number 1 position? We didn't even talk about Sam Mayer.
That's
I
right.
can't believe we
I
missed. I can't believe we
that.
missed that.
And they got it on live TV.
Yeah, that
when
was
it
beautiful.
happened.
It's like, that's what I'd love to see. in
That's what
NASCAR.
I like to see right
That's-
there.
That's the passion I want to see in NASCAR.
Yeah.
He didn't care about his sponsors. He didn't care about his team I feel like he was going after Truex wrong there, because Truex didn't really do anything wrong there. But what I'd love to see that at the passion, getting out of the car and going, screw you.
Yeah.
I can't
Short
believe
track
you wrecked
racing,
me.
heat of the moment. Love it.
Whereas Truex was probably like, we didn't do anything, and he didn't. But we didn't even talk about that. Okay, so fantasy standings here this week here at Ramblin About Racing.
Yeah, fantasy. Hey, look, you finished 7th, by the way, this past week.
That's
so.
a top 10.
Yeah, that's a top 10. You did well. So we'll hop right on over to the overall standings. Ooh, yikes. So
Did I even increase in standings?
no.
Bummer.
Yeah. So bringing up the rear of the field is you at 1,257. Yikes. Being on 3 is 13th with 1,276. Smoking Woody is 12th at 1,357. Super Sumo 32 was 11th at 1,370. Grocery Getter 6th sits 10th with 1,389. 9th is Sissy K with 1,391. Sitting 8th, TS Promo D, 1,404. Charlie is 7th with 1,439. My brother, Money Team Moon Rovers, is 6th with 1,468. The Sports Stove is 5th with 1,489. S-Blades is 4th with 1,510. Matt Camper, 3rd, 1,514. I have moved into 2nd, 1,520. And the DraftKings research lineup, which is James Maples, 1,640 points. And he's actually talking trash to you about fantasy standings.
Is he now?
Yeah.
No, I got to know this, because he isn't talking obviously directly to me.
He
about
texted
this,
me.
but he's texting
And
you. Okay.
I didn't get it. I didn't understand the message at first because I'd seen it after when I had woken up. He said this last night at midnight. I was asleep. So I wake up to this and it doesn't get, my brain is not functioning when you wake up. You're kind of lost. And the text reads, ask Beamer if he wants me to send him some food down to the basement he's taking up residence in. And at first I was like, what is he talking about? And then I was like, maybe I should probably check the fantasy standings. And I saw he was first, and well, there you were, and last. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it
If
now.
anything, I'm the base of that building, holding everything up. I'm the glue that holds everything together. Okay, that's a low blow. Talk to me next time if you're going to talk smack. That hurt. Okay, anyway. This week in NASCAR, we're going a little bit back. It is currently, as of recording of this, April 17th, but I found this interesting tidbit here from 1987. You weren't even born. What, you were born in 93, 94?
92.
92. Weren't even born. I was but the wee lad just turning 1 here. April 12th, 1987. Dale Earnhardt banged Sterling Marlin out of the way near the midpoint of that and speeds to victory in the Valley Dale 500 at Bristol. Richard Petty finishes a close second. And that was a tongue-tied little this week in NASCAR, but
don't you hate when you get those?
I do. I get them all the time when I read. It doesn't matter. I could study it and study that. I still would have gone because that's what happens when I read. But that happened this week in NASCAR, April 12th, 1987 at Bristol Motor Speedway. Midway, and there's your beating and banging. But hey, Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR died when Dale Earnhardt died. So, okay, whatever, can't complain.
It's kind of interesting to see. You think of it, how Dale Earnhardt used to be such a popular driver, but he was like a villain when it came to the field.
Yeah, he never.
Like, you expected that he was going to probably move you out of the way. And you know what? That was just that,
Yep. I don't know.
People loved it.
People loved it. Yet he only won most popular driver once, and that was in 2001. Let that sink in right there for it all. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not dogging the guy. It's just it's facts.
Yeah.
Oh, well. But Preston, that was our show this week. Do you have anything else before we wrap it up on this episode of Ramblin' About Racing?
I have nothing else but to wish the fans of Ramblin' About Racing a great week and an exciting Talladega weekend.
Yeah, if you're going
even though if we only have 2 races.
Yeah, if you're going to Talladega, be safe. Definitely have fun there on the boulevard. Nothing else?
Nothing else.
All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and wrap it up here on this episode of Ramblin' About Racing. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on the regular podcast platform or Burns Radio. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to start that over. Because I totally messed up. We're not on Burns Radio anymore. What did I say? Got anything else? You said nope.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. Well, we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up on this week's episode of Ramblin' About Racing. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on your regular podcast platform or on YouTube. Really do appreciate you stopping by, taking the time to listen to us ramble about racing. I'd like to thank our partners for the show, Devos Outdoor Lighting, Extreme Sim Racing Fanatics, and Stand Up to Cancer, for all they do, not only for us here at Ramblin' About Racing, but for what they do for Belly Up Sports as well. Make sure to follow Ramblin' About Racing on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for the latest and greatest from the world of auto racing and to see what's going on in our lives as well. All those can be found at ramblinaboutracing.com. Again, for Preston Lood, P_Luda, I'm Matt Beamer, MBeamer22. Stay safe, have a good race weekend, and we'll see you after Talladega.